to join us for our what we hope is our first annual TrinCon event. We were looking for ways in this new COVID world to try to provide value and provide some good tips and information and things that we thought you'd find useful with regards to the dynamic solutions that most of you use today, as well as the other things that we do with Office 365 or TrendDocs or hosting infrastructure in Azure. So today's a day all about those topics, and we hope that you find it valuable. We're excited today because we've got Mike Silver with us from Microsoft. Mike is a account manager with Microsoft out of Chicago, and he's the one that we work most closely with, and he has also agreed to take time out of his busy schedule just to open this event with us and kind of share some information about Microsoft, about the product roadmap with regards to Dynamics and the various products that are in the Dynamics family, and be available for any questions or other things that might be on people's mind throughout the day today. Please attend the sessions that are of interest to you. Be sure to fill out evals and get us feedback. Our team worked awful hard to put this together, but we really are anxious to get your feedback and information about, what we could do differently, what other things or other topics you'd like to see, and in general, how we can continue to improve an event like this and offer, again, value and express our appreciation for the relationship we have. So I appreciate everybody being here today. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike Silver from Microsoft.
Hey, good morning. Thank you, John. Can you hear me? Everything's good so far, making sure I'm signed in and audio is good and all that?
Yes, audio sounds good.
Yes.
Great. All right, now.
Hey, Mike, this is Tara. One thing I did just want to mention to everybody, we are recording this session. So if for any reason you don't want to be on the recording, please feel free to, take off your session now, and we will be sure to to send you guys the links after this session. Thanks so much, Mike. We're looking forward to this.
All good. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Just want to make sure I get all my technology working. And can everybody see my screen here? Just to make sure I'm good. Give me a second.
Yes, we see it, Mike.
We're all good, and you can hear me. And
yes, sir.
Welcome to a wonderful morning. So give me a second here. Thank you, John. Thanks for the introduction, Tara, and Callie. Thank you for adding me to your list of presenters today and for asking me to join and get in front of your customers. And thanks to all the customers that are joining and showing their interest in the great work you guys are doing and the work we're trying to get done here at Microsoft and moving forward together. So the way to start this, I was thinking, how am I going to kick this off this morning and share with you kind of the things that are going on at Microsoft and give my best view of what's happening internally and where we're headed. And I thought a great place to start would be just some of the principles that we're putting in place and some of the guiding, I'll call it the light that we're putting shined on as assistance to our partners and the support we're giving our partner channel. Some of the goals and what I call the high level perspectives of what we'd like to do and how we're working with our partners. Things like creating clarity. From the feedback we've heard over the years is, Microsoft's a complicated place and complex to kind of do business with. So there's a big effort internally to simplify things and to bring more value to partners and customers as we move forward. Generate energy. The marketplace is getting more and more competitive, and the technologies are moving so fast. We've got to keep that energy level up. So, and then ultimately just success, which may look different for everybody. It's different for partners. It's different for me, and it's different for you as customers of Microsoft. But some of the guiding principles that are behind the work we're doing today, and I thought that might be just a good way to kick things off. And kind of put the last statement I have here on the left, that partners make more possible. Microsoft is a partner-centric organization, and the way we go to market is through our partners. And with that, I wanted to thank the folks at TrinSoft, and again, give you a little background on how we work with TrinSoft and Microsoft support of our partner channel and the folks at TrinSoft. We call TrinSoft is one of what we call a managed partner. So my role here at Microsoft is to, we'll call it manage or oversee a portfolio, a number of partners that are specific to the Dynamics business that have actually grown up with us through the Great Plains days and have been with us for many, many years. My portfolio of partners consists of roughly 20 partners that all do different things, come to market differently, but are all specifically focused on our Dynamics business. With the changes that have gone over over the years at Microsoft and some of the new directions that the organization's taken, There's only a handful of us in the US. There's 7 of us that manage a portfolio probably of a little less than 100 partners overall. And literally in the Microsoft ecosystem, there are thousands of partners. So TrinSoft is one of those, what we call managed partners that we consider to be one of our top partners that are delivering solutions, that are being innovative, that are bringing new products to market, that are working with us and that share our vision for the future and technology and how we're moving to the cloud. So I just wanted a quick round of applause and a good thank you to the folks at TrinSoft. The work that I've been able to do with them and the opportunity to work together has been very rewarding. We see a big future together. We will continue to invest in TrinSoft and get behind them and support them and their customers. So for nothing else, you're in good hands and you're with a partner that does have the support and backing of Microsoft. Some of the things we talked about as we move forward, I know there's a lot of discussion in the world today and around the ecosystem and partner communities and even in the customer sites about the Microsoft Cloud. And I don't know that there's ever been a solid definition presented of the Microsoft Cloud. So again, one of the places I thought I'd start with is the Microsoft Cloud really is it's everything that we put up in the internet, everything that we put out for people to consume, consisting primarily of 3 sub clouds, I guess, if you want to call them that way. Particularly, we look at the business around Microsoft Azure, which is that infrastructure kind of place. It's where servers and network equipment and storage and databases all reside. Microsoft Office, Microsoft 365 is the play that everybody's familiar with. That includes Windows and Office and a whole security stack nowadays and all the tools for managing the desktop. And then finally, our business applications cloud, the Microsoft Dynamics 365, which you're familiar with as a Dynamics customer. And as we move forward and we look at the cloud, we're looking at business applications and what we call our connected AI or artificial intelligent business, where we're bringing together all of the tools that make those 3 clouds up, intelligent connecting people, customers, transforming products, optimizing operations, using the data and the AI tools that are now bringing so much of the technology to market and helping things connect and engage one another. And that's kind of the picture overall, the vision of the Microsoft Dynamics Cloud, which consists of these particular applications. Now, these are not necessarily individuals by themselves. Things like finance and operations really are 2 offerings from Microsoft. It's our finance and operations products and our Business Central product that we'll talk about a little later. Commerce consists of things like web services and inventory management for people doing online commerce. And it also has tools for credit card integrations, as well as other tools to make that e-commerce what's the word I'm looking for? The e-commerce platform work for customers. Service contains other applications like a field service app. And we've got marketing, sales, customer service, human resources, and all of these applications make up what we call Dynamics 365. So again, Dynamics 365 is the brand. The Microsoft Cloud contains all of the tools and the platforms of all the technology we deliver. Inside the Microsoft Cloud, we've got the Dynamics 365 suite of applications, which consists of all of these tools. Oh, looks like I'm messing up a little bit. So as we kind of move on, I thought it would be a good idea to just, again, kind of get some familiarity with what's going on in the AI business cloud, what we call business applications. And again, just a reiteration of all the different products and the different applications that exist inside Dynamics 365. Just like Office 365 has Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Dynamics 365 has Business Central. It has sales, it has customer service, it has marketing. So a picture of everything that's now available in the Dynamics 365 cloud. One of the other tools that we put inside with Dynamics 365, which actually runs across all 3 clouds, is the Microsoft Power Platform. And I'm assuming everybody's heard of this by now, but it's a big direction in where Microsoft's taking applications, because what it does is it's providing the platform for customizing and integrating and taking all of the products we're providing out of the box and giving you the ability to extend those through either workflow and automation, through dashboards, through Power BI, Power Apps. We're seeing some incredibly cool stuff happen with people building applications that not only reside on internet pages, but even on their mobile devices and phones and tablets. All kinds of really cool stuff. So you'll hear more and more of this as we move on. These tools are part of the offerings that you get with most of your Dynamics 365 applications. And certainly I know we're working with the folks at TrinSoft pretty closely to help their education and help them start delivering and bringing some more of these tools and what they deliver to the market and you as customers as well. Boy, I'm having a tough time with my mouse this morning. One other place or something I wanted to mention and was asked to kind of bring up is the use of Microsoft Teams. Certainly with what's been going on in the world today and the pandemic and how we're all moving to more of a remote workforce, Microsoft Teams has become a big player. I mean, it's certainly one of the largest competitors with hundreds of millions of users already on the platform. But Teams is not just a way of collaborating or doing online meetings. It actually does tie in well with that Power App suite of tools that we just discussed. It allows you to create workflows that bring tools into Teams. It allows you to create workspaces to store documents and to collaborate on a document. You can launch applications through there. You can build workflows and deploy dashboards inside Teams, as well as do like today or other days. I'm on Teams all day long, connecting and talking with people. So if you haven't looked at Teams, I would just encourage you to take a quick look at it. Talk to the folks at TrinSoft. It is absolutely becoming a very, very large and well-accepted platform and tool in the workplace today. Ties in perfectly with Office. And it's been awesome. They've done a great job of pulling that and bringing that product to market. Again, from the Dynamics 365 application suite, I wanted to just address this one more time and think about Dynamics 365 again as an overall brand, a brand that contains lots of applications. And again, a quick look at what's available inside Dynamics 365. As we start to segment and pull these applications in, Microsoft looks at the marketplace in kind of three buckets of customers. We have we call the enterprise, which are very, very large corporate 500 type customers, typically defined by companies that have 2,500 seats, Windows desktops or more. We then move into what we call the middle market or the corporate market, which is from 500 to 2,500 seats. And then the SMB business, the small to medium business, which is typically under 500. And I think we've even been changing those numbers. The SMBs may have even been moved up to 750 seats. So by all means, the SMB market is not really small businesses. We may think of a small business, companies with 750 or less users and desktops. By no means is a small business, but in the world of Microsoft, that's kind of the category they put them in. But it doesn't necessarily mean there's any products that are different. But when the SMB market, the way Microsoft approaches that customer base is 100% strictly through partners. So like TrinSoft, that's serving all you folks. TrinSoft is the partner that works with all the SMB business that we tackle in their area and the things they bring to market. We don't get involved from a sales perspective. We don't have sales people that come in and knock on customer doors. We don't have sales support. We count on our partners to deliver all the sales work, to deliver all the technology, to do all the consulting work, and to be that first line of support and facing to the customers. From the SMB perspective, some of the things that are in market now and where we're taking Dynamics 365, again, Business Central is really the key play and the next generation of Navision and Great Plains and Solomon. It's really where we're moving most of that core ERP service and selection product going forward into the cloud. Other products that are available under Dynamics 365 that are particularly focused or positioned to work in the SMB space, we've got something called Dynamics 365 Sales Professional and Dynamics 365 Customer Service Professional, which really came from the CRM product that Microsoft's had in market, gosh, since the early 2000s. And they've pulled those products down, split kind of the capabilities of it into multiple products, brought the price point down to make it very, very usable, consumable, and affordable for this SMB market. And then, of course, the Office 365 platform, which tackles that as well and brings all that together under Teams and so on. Some of the things in play right now, again, to talk more about what we're doing for the SMBs, the Dynamics 365 Sales Professional, again, is the core CRM product. The price points come down to $65 per user per month, and there's actually 4 months at no cost for right now. So through June of next year, you can get a full year for the cost of 8 months. And it's a great product. When I look at the CRM market and really what's available, who's standing and who's left, kind of the players, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know how you want to look at it, but it's either Microsoft or Salesforce these days. And it's absolutely a head-to-head, neck-and-neck race. I think the Microsoft product's been absolutely terrific. We certainly use it internally. I've used it in other places. I was a partner for many, many years myself here in Chicago. We sold the product. Yeah, I think it's terrific and something, if you're in the market for a CRM sales tool, it's definitely something worth looking at. And then in addition, it's the customer service product. So those products used to be combined under one CRM offering. We've split them out so that you can pick and choose the tools you need or whichever might be better to solve the issues of the business at that point in time. Again, same kind of offer and promotion for free for 4 months. Something to look at and certainly worth discussing with the folks at TrinSoft. Let's go jump in real quick to the Dynamics 365 and Business Central play, where we're headed, where that product's going, and some of the things that you might want to look at if you haven't looked at it already. It really is the next generation of Microsoft ERP. It's 100% SaaS based. You have the ability to deploy it either on premise, in the cloud, in your own hosted environment, or through what we call the SaaS, software as a service model, where you're paying strictly monthly for a subscription and you don't have to do anything except use the product. There are tools that do migrations from your existing GP and NAV and SL products. It runs with inside Outlook. It's a really cool demo and an incredibly great way of operating if you haven't seen it, where most of the work you do can be done inside Outlook. It's secure, running in the Microsoft cloud. The applications and the third-party tools that are available through what we call AppSource, if you haven't looked there, has been growing steadily and rapidly. There's a lot of support, and this year we've seen more investment in the partner ecosystem and the third-party ISVs than we have since the product launched just a couple of years ago. We're not supposed to be giving out numbers, but I've just seen really, particularly since the pandemic hit, the numbers for Business Central have been just crazy through the roof. We've seen more adoption, more customers moving to this. Maybe it has to do with the work at home initiative, but there are tens of thousands of customers and companies, hundreds of thousands of users on Business Central today in just a few short years. So we're pretty excited about where the product's going. I'm a big believer in it. It's deep, it's capable, and certainly integrated with the rest of the Microsoft platform. Some of the other points around Business Central, like we talked about, the ISV and the partner solutions through Microsoft AppSource. It's appsource.microsoft.com. If you haven't looked there, there's a whole host of applications and third-party products available. The whole platform and the integration with Microsoft and Microsoft 365 and Office. We talked about the Power Platform, where a handful of the reports and most of the tools, when you buy Business Central, you get these tools and have the ability to use them within the Business Central environment. Common data services are the platform that Dynamics 365 now sits on. So when we look across all of those products, they're all sitting on that common data service, meaning that they're all out of the box connected and synchronized. I don't have to build integrations across the Dynamics 365 products. It's all part of the offering. And then again, they all sit in the Azure cloud. So regardless of what Microsoft Dynamics 365 applications you purchase or are using, they're all sitting in the Microsoft Azure application or in the cloud platform, which brings you security, brings you reliability, service level agreements, uptimes, everything that we find from obviously a great cloud provider. I'm just going to put this up and not talk to it much, but everything that you would expect to find in a full-fledged deep ERP mid-market product, you'll find inside Dynamics 365 Business Central. In fact, just as I've been learning the product more and getting my hands around it, it's even got some more depth outside of just core accounting and core operational for manufacturers, distribution, and inventory. It does have its own mini CRM tool in there. So we can track opportunities and leads inside Business Central. So just a good smattering of all the applications available and again, the tools that tie in to Business Central. When we were putting this together, I know they were talking to John and the team at TrinSoft, there certainly was the desire to talk a little bit about where we're headed with GP and where the GP platform and product is going to be going forward. And then a little bit about what's available today in the migration. So probably about 2 years ago, we put out a tool that basically synchronized the data between your existing on-prem Great Plains product and Dynamics 365 Business Central in the cloud. And not only does it migrate data, you can even deploy the tool between the two products and keep the two synchronized. So as time's progressed and the product's gotten better, the migration tool has also gotten better. So most of the data in your GP system today can be migrated and moved to Dynamics 365 Business Central in the cloud. And if it's really even just for a time period where you'd like to evaluate Business Central or just take a look at it, you can keep that migration tool in place and let the data synchronize itself. So big commitment to the migrations, big commitments to getting our customers a path forward into the cloud and a big opportunity to use the tools that we're putting in place to keep things pretty simple as you move and migrate forward into the cloud with your GP product. The other thing that was of importance, and John asked me to mention too, was the commitment to GP going forward. And regardless of what the market has been saying or what we've been hearing, and we certainly get feedback internally all the time about the future of GP, I have not heard anything internally that there was an end of life. In fact, to the contrary, all we've been hearing to date is that GP will continue to be supported. GP, SL, Dynamics 365, Dynamics NAV are all going to be continue to be moved forward. There is no end of life in place today, nothing that's been announced, and it's not going away. So your investments there are still strong, and the opportunity to continue to run on Microsoft products and platforms is still there. Hopefully I've alleviated any concerns or questions. And by all means, if there's any more, that we'll have time at the end of this discussion to answer some more of those. But GP will be in place as far as I know for the foreseeable future, and we will continue to build the tools to help migrate and move to Business Central and the other Microsoft Dynamics 365 cloud products. And just another for the NAV users, same program. We've got migration tools, integration tools, ability to move from NAV on-prem to Business Central, and even those that adopted Business Central in the early days, moving up to the new Dynamics 365 Business Central SaaS product. Again, the tools and the migration products and everything to keep things synced is in place. A program that I thought was worth mentioning, which I'm sure you've heard from the folks at TrinSoft, there is a program in place today where it partly in response to the pandemic and to help customers that are on their current enhancement plans to give you the opportunity to make paying for those annual enhancement plans a little easier. So in March, I think the program was announced, or April, we actually gave a couple months back. If your enhancement plan is up for renewal, you could actually opt in. You can get a copy of Business Central that's basically equal in price to your enhancement plan. So you're getting a number of users and some subscription that's equal in price. And you can just continue to pay your enhancement plan. You can even pay it monthly instead of an annual price and continue to run that on-prem version of GP. So for all practical purposes, if I put it in a nutshell, you can take your enhancement plan, pay it out over 12 months, and at the same time, basically get a free copy of Business Central. What that allows you to do is get Business Central in place. The folks at TrinSoft can certainly help you with that integration and that synchronization tool. And it gives you the opportunity to look at, evaluate, or even potentially start moving and migrating to Business Central, really at no additional cost, nothing more than you're paying for your current enhancement plan on Great Plains. The other nice piece of that is this program is planned to be renewed for the next 2 years. So you've got until the end of June, based on when your enhancement plan renews, to jump on board and take advantage of the offer today. And then you'll have the opportunity as well to renew that for 2 following years. That gives you 3 total years. 1 to pay your enhancement plan monthly, to get your heads around Business Central. And if at the end of 3 years or at any point in time you don't want, you still have what we call dual use rights. Your GP stuff doesn't go away. You haven't given up licensing or rights to that product. You can simply say, we're no good. We don't like Business Central. We're going to stick with GP, and no harm, no foul. So one of the better programs, I think one of the more aggressive things I think Microsoft's put in place since the launch of Business Central. This program has been really, really well adopted, well received. I don't know numbers, but I would guess the numbers are well into the thousands of customers that have taken advantage of this since it's been put in market. So certainly talk to the folks at TrinSoft about this, get an understanding of it. And again, if there's any questions, I'm here to answer those right at the end of the presentation. And then finally, I think just to wrap up, certainly the COVID-19 and the pandemic, we know it's affected everybody, right? It's had an impact on all of our businesses and our lives, and how we work and how we're dealing with our daily lives and our families and everything else. And I was personally kind of really moved, I guess, to an extent when I started hearing all the things that Microsoft was doing, not only for us as employees, but the attempts they were making in the market to help customers and to offer products. There was an offering through the end of June where you could have gotten that whole PowerPoint platform or certain tools and Dynamics or Teams literally for free through the end of the year. Some of those offers are still around. Feel free to reach out and ask if you're interested in any of that. But great response in offering products and my technology, offering products to the marketplace in response to the pandemic. Some of the things they've identified, there were certainly programs for the health workers, employees and companies internally, facility managers, particularly here at Microsoft, on how to manage our real estate and people's offices. So all kinds of really interesting information that's being put out, research, offerings, products, and ways of attempting to help people work through the pandemic and change how we all work and the use of technology. And kind of finally, to wrap it up, the two things that I think that just really kind of hit home with me was, aside from offering free software or some additional support while we're working through this, Microsoft made a big commitment to help over 25 million people worldwide get skills, to help them learn technology, and to help bring them into the marketplace in support of having to either find jobs or if they were affected by this differently. So here's two websites that I've shared. It's free education, it's free skilling, it's education on Microsoft tools. There's programs for writing resumes, there's programs for soft skills on communications, all kinds of free education with support for Microsoft certifications as well at these two sites. And I was kind of taken back and I'll say honestly, personally very proud that Microsoft took this approach and offered up these types of resources to help the community. So, and that's kind of the wrap up my presentation. Again, bottom line, partners make more possible, right? So we thank the folks at TrinSoft and the work they do for us and how they're in support of their customers. We're here to help, and we're here to support TrinSoft and you. And I'm here for some questions. So John, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it very much. Thanks for providing that overview. I'm going to do a kind of a recap and highlight or touch on a couple of things that Mike just reviewed for everybody. First, we just reviewed for you kind of the roadmap on GP and NAV and what Microsoft is currently doing around GP, NAV, and the migration options. And I just kind of want everybody to know that we wanted to present that to you so that you knew your options, right? If you're using GP, if you're using NAV, and you're perfectly comfortable with where you are, terrific. You saw, and you just heard from Microsoft directly from Mike, there's no obligation. There's nobody's forcing your hand. Nobody's making you migrate or move to BC or change. Not at all. At the same time, if you're interested in it, if you want to explore the BC solution or what that might look like, Microsoft has some unique opportunities to do that at virtually no exposure to you at all. That enhancement migration plan is really unique. I agree with Mike. It's one of the better programs we've seen because it's zero risk to you whatsoever. You pay this enhancement over 12 months and you get a free copy of BC with access to those migration tools to try it out. There's nothing that changes or gets inhibited about your current solution at all, NAV, GP, or anything. And again, both of those are staying. We're continuing to support them. We're continuing to stand behind them and stand behind you 100%. So today we wanted you to know what those options were. And as you see all that stuff out there and you read articles or see other blog posts or from other partners or competing products, they're trying to sometimes sow some doubt, right? Or some fear in you that, oh, your system's going away or it's not going to be supported. And that's just absolutely not true. So we wanted today for you to understand NAV, GP, the futures are secure with those and what your options are if you're interested, right, in exploring BC. And if not, no problem at all. So, that's a big part of what this was about. The other thing I'll touch on a little bit more is about those Power Apps tools. One of the big things we've seen Microsoft do is continue to put more and more opportunity and frankly, power and potential into your hands, into the end user's hands. And that's really aligned with TrinSoft's goals from our founding. We want you to be able to do as much as you want to do and as much as you are able to do. The tool called Power Apps, for example, really enables you to create standalone apps that interact with BC or NAV or even GP, depending on what you do with common data services. So you can create standalone apps and modifications and tailor things completely on your own. We're willing to show you. We can kind of hold your hand with it. We can show you how they work and guide you on that road, or we're happy to do it for you, right? We create the full extensions. We don't always use Power Apps to do it because we're out there coding and writing our own extensions. The other thing we can do is do some more around Power BI, right? The other big tool in that Power Platform is Power BI. A lot of you have seen Power BI. We've done a couple of different webinars over the last few years about it. It's a terrific tool to let you get data and information out of your system. And again, it works today with NAV, with GP, with other products that aren't in the Microsoft suite. That little thing that he showed a couple times called common data services, you can actually create that and you can pull and centralize data from other systems along with a Microsoft system and then produce really nice looking KPIs and dashboards in Power BI. So those are the couple of tools that we see more and more users getting really excited about. Of course, you saw Automate, which used to be called Flows, and that's a workflow engine that will let you help flow transactions and route them for things like approval in Office, right? Not necessarily in your ERP. And then the virtual help, that one's pretty new. We haven't even worked with that one too much. So one of the things Microsoft's doing is they're putting more and more and more of this technology and this potential in the hands of the end users. If you want to try it, if you're adventurous, if you're technical, if you like that kind of stuff and really want to explore the limits of your ERP system or your Microsoft infrastructure, and you want to start to tailor that to leverage some of your core competencies or to grow or to streamline how you process or approve a transaction, those tool sets are available to you as end users. We, again, can show you, or we have some customers say, look, John, that's not for me. You guys take care of that. I want you to create this Power BI stuff. So you have all of those different levels of entry, right? Where you take it on, where we'll show you how to take it on, or where we'll take it on for you. We're going to do as much or as little as you would like. So lots of opportunity there in that Power Platform. Last piece that I'll mention is a little bit more about Office 365 and Teams. Mike showed Teams. All of us, COVID has challenged all of us in a lot of ways, right? As we've been working remote, a lot of people, a lot of us on our team are still working remote predominantly at this stage. It's challenged us to think about what our work environment looks like long-term, right, in the future. And we're challenging ourselves going, I think that more of a hybrid remote, possibly full-time remote work is something we'll support going forward. And Teams is really the tool that we found enables that collaboration, not just doing a video conference or a conference call or something like that, but really being able to share files, to be able to connect it and plug it into apps, which is really nice. The security and the ability to do chat messaging or calls or video calls, to invite outside people as well. We're using Teams extensively, I think really exclusively at this point for almost all of our project and implementation meetings, our recurring meetings that we have. The other thing that TrinSoft's doing, and this is kind of serve as an announcement for everybody today, we're actually going to Teams for their calling feature. Teams has a full-fledged IP phone calling feature that enables your Teams, your computer, to act as an IP phone. TrinSoft has just signed for that, and we are replacing our entire traditional IP phone system with Teams. By the end of this year, all of our users, the only way we will make outgoing calls will be through Teams, right? We've equipped folks with headsets. Again, the remote work has challenged us and really encouraged us to think about that. And Teams, the Teams calling features, which we've been testing, basically gives each of our team members a dedicated phone number that they can dial from. The great thing about it, it also runs on your mobile phone via an app. So we're able to make remote calls from our cell phone, but through the Teams app, it starts to mask our individual mobile numbers now and consolidates and centralizes the way that communication is done. So it always comes from my dedicated numbers. You can call me just like you could call me on any other IP phone system. Instead of a 4-digit extension, I have a dedicated phone number now that rings me directly, pick up, say hello, off we go. So Teams is a very powerful feature there and has a lot to bear. Not only, again, the conferencing, lots of people know it from kind of the Zoom competitor thing, right? But there's a lot more to Teams from an operational standpoint, from a company standpoint, again, enabling you to collaborate with each other while you're working remote. I think everybody can relate to this. It's challenging working remote. We've all seen it. It's tough to keep some of the camaraderie. You saw in the bio, the staff profiles there that we're running before we started. Several of our team members comment on, they like working here and they like the culture and they like our camaraderie. It's tough to keep that going in a remote environment. It's a very different way of sharing information, of staying in touch with each other. And I'm proud of some of the things our groups have done. Our team members, for example, we've got team leaders who are doing weekly socials with their team. So everybody gets together on Teams. I think we do, one team does a weekly happy hour, which they get together and just, again, chat a little bit and just visit and get the videos on so they can see everybody and talk. It's challenging to keep some of that camaraderie and that culture going in a remote environment. And we have found Teams that's been very helpful, been very, very helpful for it. Related to that is Office 365. I think another takeaway as I was reflecting on what Mike was sharing, and if there's a message or something, there are 1 or 2 things I would want to share with everybody who's attending today. It's to tap in and use what you have. There is a lot of opportunity and a lot of technology in the infrastructure here between Office 365, between Dynamics 365, right, your ERP system, between Azure, Teams, et cetera, that isn't tapped. So Office 365 is one I'll pick on for a couple of minutes. We all think about that Office from its roots of Excel, right, and Word and PowerPoint, but it has grown to be so much more than that. Your Office 365 subscription, first, it's a great fixed fee way to be sure everybody has current Office licensing and that they can install the full Office products on 5 devices. I can't tell you how many years I would get asked that question. Hey, John, I really want to put Excel on one of my machines at home. And you can't do that unless you have an Office 365 license or you're buying separate Office licenses. With Office 365, we've always got the current version and I can install it on 5 devices. I can have it on 2 of my kids' machines at home. It's up to me. I control what devices. There's also a lot more to it besides the old Excel, Word, and PowerPoint that all of us are familiar with. The 2 or 3 features that I've started to use quite a bit. One is a tool called Bookings. Some of you may have seen another tool out there called Calendly, where you can send somebody a link and they can see your calendar. I actually used Calendly for years, still have that account. Microsoft has one that's part of your Office 365 subscription called Bookings. And you can actually create bookings and create services and offerings and then simply send somebody a link and they can connect and create meetings with you based on your availability, on your rules. Now, some of these features are dependent on what level of Office 365 subscription you have. There are different levels, and that can get confusing, right? Some feedback we could give Mike if he could run it up the channel, because there's so much being offered through Microsoft. Sometimes their licensing gets terribly confusing. So I do want to put that out there. That's always a caveat that you've got to have the right level of Office 365 license, but Bookings is a terrific feature. The other one I get asked about a lot is when you're submitting files. We transmit information via email more today than we ever have in the past, right? Ever. And if you think about it, a lot of us start to get potentially a little bit cavalier, or sometimes we don't think about the sensitive nature of some of the information we may transmit via email. Office 365 has an option to encrypt. Easy, it's one click. You can get ready to send a message, you click encrypt it, and it's fully encrypted email, which is a much, much more secure way if you're sending an attachment or maybe credentials or something like that via email. Otherwise, you have to be very careful. So encryption is built into Office 365. bookings is part of Office 365. There's another tool. There are a bunch of apps. If you log into it and click the app list, you're going to see lots of things that you hadn't even imagined before. They have the ability to stream and host video content, which is becoming more and more important for individuals in their marketing departments. So, and then there's a tool out there that will enable you to, and of course, OneDrive, everybody knows OneDrive for saving files, but they also have the ability to do online forms. So there's a tool now called Forms, and you can create forms and questions that will accumulate answers. Again, not really designed to be routing or transactional forms, but say you wanted to do a survey, or say you wanted to send out a questionnaire to your teams or your customers, you can create online forms real quickly and easily as well. Again, all of that's in that Office 365 subscription. So like I said, part of the takeaway, not just Office 365, but Power Apps, but also the modules that you own in GP and NAV and BC, explore those modules. We see that a lot of times customers are only tapping into a small part of what they own. And we just want to encourage you to get the most for your subscription or for that license and get the most out of it. So that's my recap there. I don't want to take up time for all the question we've allowed. I think we've got about 10 minutes left for question and answers. And before we get into that and start sending those, I guess if you have questions, I think send them via chat. Is that right, Tara? I think we're take questions via chat, and then she'll get them to us. While you guys are chatting or sending in those questions, and we'll start to answer them. Again, please do evals and get us feedback on this. We would love to hear what you think of this kind of event. We're challenging in this environment to, again, continue to stay connected with customers. We don't get to see everybody in person like we have traditionally, getting out there. Bobby and Tara are doing visits on a scheduled and regular basis. And because we haven't been able to do that, because none of us have been able to go to events, right? GPUG or NAVUG or a Microsoft conference that we might be used to, we're trying to stay connected with virtual events like this. Everything else in the world's going virtual. So we're taking some of our events, some of our tips and tricks and things, and making that virtual as well. So at this point, we've got questions. Any questions for us? Send them in via chat on the Zoom session.
Not via chat. If you guys have any questions, just go to the Q&A session in this. You just ask a question and we will be able to see it and we can respond to it right away. Or you feel free to unmute yourself as well if you'd like to and ask a question. We have a few more minutes.
All right, so it looks like we got one here.
Yeah.
Switching from QuickBooks to BC. This is a really good question. So we've got somebody coming from QuickBooks to BC, and in general, I'm going to give this a little bit of a summary. QuickBooks was a little bit easier to use than what I'm seeing in BC, right? What's BC going to do to make it a little bit easier to use? We get this feedback a lot. The transition from QuickBooks to BC is not an easy one. It is not an easy one at all. And the reason is, BC is a real ERP system. QuickBooks is not, right? It absolutely is not. That's why QuickBooks couldn't give you accurate inventory costing if they had to, right? It's not a real ERP system. It doesn't have good internal controls. The biggest advantage of QuickBooks is what we see in this comment, in this question. It's so easy to use. I mean, Intuit is brilliant in the ease of use of QuickBooks and how tight it integrates with your banks, right? And credit cards, transactions like that. BC is a more formal, much more structured, much more complex system. And what we see is users kind of struggle. Hey, I used to go in there and create a sales order, and then after I shipped it, I would change it. You can't do that in BC, right? You can't do that in any ERP system, right? I shipped something and I changed it after it was posted, which again, you can't do that in BC. So Microsoft is hearing us for feedback, and believe me, we're with you. We're kind of screaming at the top of our lungs. Look, there's some things you need to get easier. Bank reconciliation, for heaven's sakes. That's the one that comes just screaming to my mind. The bank reconciliation process in QuickBooks is so much easier than BC. It's not even funny. Can you do it in BC? Yes. Is it as easy? Absolutely not. The thing to remember is BC does a lot more than what QuickBooks does. And it does bring more structure to your process and your transactions. Ultimately, that's a good thing, because you're going to get more accurate data, especially around costing and inventory. you're going to get much more accurate data. The challenge is you have to understand and learn how to do that and why. There are also things you can do to help streamline some things in BC besides what Microsoft does, right? I can't answer the question specifically is when's Microsoft going to make things easier? Well, next week, right? I can't answer for Microsoft and their release schedule. They do take that feedback seriously, and I'd encourage you to provide it to them as well. Mike's on with us today, right? So if there are specific things besides the couple I'm mentioning, please feel free to chime in. They're taking it seriously and trying to make strides there, but I certainly can't answer for them as to when. However, again, there are things you can do that will make it a little bit easier on your side. First, there's a lot of flexibility in the screens and screen layout that not all users know about. And you can do that on any version, right? A NAV or BC. GP even enables you to modify forms, right? And you can modify the screens to get rid of some of the fields and some of the steps, some of the click-throughs or tabs that you don't need, that don't mean anything to you. There's one. Number two, a lot of times you can automate some of the steps, some of the processes. For example, in a very formal processing of a sales order, you might create the sales order, then click the release button, then ship it through a warehouse shipment, then invoice it. You can automate some of those steps so that as a user clicks release, that's it. And the system will automatically ship it and will automatically invoice it. So there are some things that you can do there to help streamline those pieces, but they do take a little bit of effort. They do take, the effort or the technical know-how from a user perspective to create that automation to set that up. So that's the couple of things I'd point to. So we see this on a regular basis. We brought a lot of people from QuickBooks to BC, and I'll tell you, it's so predominant that today when we kick off and when we know a company is coming off QuickBooks, the very first kickoff meeting, the very first presentation we make to them, we start to talk about this is going to be a tough transition, right? And there are going to be things that you're not going to like about BC. It's not going to be as easy in elements. But remember, you're doing it for a reason. You're going to have much more accurate data, much more accurate costing. You have a lot more features available to you in BC than you did QuickBooks, and you can support a lot more users and a lot more transactions.
And if it'll help too, John, just what are we seeing at Microsoft? By all means, the feedback comes in, and we see that all the time, right? So I do get the opportunity to talk with the engineering folks and the product folks on occasion, and there's no doubt the commitment to Business Central has been, like I say, it's unbelievable what we're seeing, even particularly this year, the investments and everything being poured in. So continue to give that feedback to John. There's places we can post and share with the engineering team. John can always get that to me. But also to John's point, when we look at it from a transition of those folks from QuickBooks to Business Central, one, we're seeing a pretty good movement there. Particularly a lot of it has to do with security. So the ability to have that audit trail and that segregation of duties, where I can't go into Business Central and delete a check after I cut it. And again, in today's environment, that level of security, that ability to put it up in a shared environment in the Microsoft Azure world where it is secure, that's been a big catalyst, a big reason for people to move from something like QuickBooks to Business Central. So there's a lot more under the covers there. The other two, and John mentioned, is again, let's go back to that Power Platform. Tools like Power Automate and Power Apps, those tie in directly with Business Central. You can use those tools to build things like workflow. Some of it's built in, some of them can be outside the product. When an invoice comes in or there's a reason for inventory to be received, you can have Power Automate send an email to somebody, right? So taking advantage of those tools and talking with the folks at TrinSoft on not just the product or how the product works, but how to improve the operations in your business and the processes that you guys are implementing as customers. There's so much more tools, there's so much more available than like a QuickBooks platform that you should think about these things, take advantage of them. And when you get specific about where the challenges are using the product, certainly that the folks at TrinSoft know, right? Not only for feedback to us to build into the product, but there may be things that Microsoft just never really does because it may not be a generic enough or a widely accepted enough feature that they'd want to put in the product, whereas TrinSoft and the Power Automate platforms and the tools that we have could really help simplify that stuff. So a little thinking out of the box goes a long way these days.
Good question. And I appreciate you sharing it. I appreciate you sharing that honest, candid feedback.
Yeah, no, I was actually, it's funny, whenever I hear discussions about it, I always hear it from the customer end and the sales process. But I'm more on the vendor end and the accounting process. And those processes seem relatively easier to make simpler. I mean, you definitely hit it on the head with the bank reconciliations. Although I'm quite impressed with the new bank reconciliation process where you import your statement. I really like that one. But it's the ability to actually reconcile things other than a bank statement. So, for instance, all my accrual accounts, my prepaid accounts, the easiest way for me to make sure that those are where they should be and there's no oddballs in there is to zero them out to a bank reconciliation. So having that ability would be one thing. But then simple things like writing a check, where you just select the vendor or select the employee and enter in the amount and the account that you want it to hit. That's not there. I mean, every time I do that, it's a 2-line transaction, and a 2-line general journal entry. So it's some simple things that if Microsoft would just look at QuickBooks and say, okay, we know QuickBooks is the star standard. Let's get as close to that as possible in terms of being user friendly. That's what I would like to see.
I appreciate that. Well, again, it's good feedback. I think there are certain areas that it could be made a little bit easier, a little more simple. We'll keep giving that feedback back and keep looking for opportunities for us to try to help streamline some of those with you if we can. So thanks for the feedback. Are there others? Other questions?
Yeah, if there's any more questions, please feel free to answer in the Q&A or to ask in the Q&A, and we can get back to you with that. I think Bobby's going to stop sharing here, and then we can, here we go. Oops, I still can't do that. All right, well, I was going to try to get my video up because I wanted just to kind of pretend like I was looking at you guys, but I can't get my video on here. So I'll have to work on that in the next in between times. But I wanted to say, again, this is Tara Cox, and I wanted to say thank you again for everybody who attended our opening session this morning. Again, throughout the day, if you think of questions or anything else that you want to ask John or Mike or anybody of our TrinSoft team, feel free to email me at tcox@trinsoft.com. We will be having a wrap-up session at 4 o'clock today, and we will be answering those questions. And if we can't answer them then, we will get you an answer sometime soon. So feel free to send questions our way and attend that wrap-up session. If you haven't registered for any other sessions today, you can still do that. You can still get your teammates on board. I think our next session is a business intelligence session coming up here at 10 o'clock, which I think most of you guys would really benefit from and seeing how you can do your reporting in both NAV and GP and BC. So be sure to tune in there. Also, on a fun note, we are giving away a gift card for everybody for every session that you attend, every session. So at the end of the session, you will be receiving an eval to fill out. Once you fill that out, you'll be automatically entered into to receive a gift card for this particular session. And we will be drawing for those tomorrow after people have had time to fill out their evals. So the more sessions you attend, the better chances you are to get those gift cards. And at the end of the day, we're going to be drawing, or if you attend all the sessions or attend as many as you can, we're going to be drawing for AirPods. So be sure to attend as many as you can and fill out those evals. And again, just be sure to pass this along to your teammates and they can still register. And we are just so happy to have you here. I wish I could see each and every one of you. I miss talking to you guys and visiting with you guys, and I'm excited that you're here today. So if you have additional questions, again, you can go to the Q&A right now in this session, or just feel free to email me and we will get those answered for you in the 4 o'clock wrap up. So I appreciate you guys attending, and I look forward to seeing you in other sessions today.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. And big thanks to Mike Silver from Microsoft for joining us today. So thanks, Mike. Great to hear from you again. And hope everybody enjoys the day.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.